Hey pastor, you've got your camera set up so you're looking pretty good. But have you paid attention to your background? Many people forget, and when your background looks bad or your background is distracting, people aren't paying attention to what you say. You want to find out how to do it right? Stick around. Your background can mess you up. Hey, just ask this guy.
For the wider region, I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region, do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. Pardon me.
That's right, carry on.
My apologies.
What's this going to mean for the region?
My apologies. Sorry.
Paying attention to the background is absolutely critical to have an engaging shot. If your background is distracting, if it's ugly, if it's boring, people are going to lose interest. A common mistake many people make when choosing a background is choosing a background that's too bright. For example, a window could have the sun behind you, even just a bright white light source. Whenever you do that, the camera naturally adjusts to the background and not to you, which just turns you into a silhouette and just a voice speaking out of the darkness. Maybe not the best look. Even if you adjust the camera so that you're exposed correctly, that just makes the background overexposed. When that happens, it gives you this maybe a heavenly angelic look. But I'm not sure if that's always the best look to go for either. Another shot that's very common is choosing a background that's just plain blank. Now you might think that this is improvement over the window, and it is when it comes to light exposure, but it's a very boring shot. It doesn't make a compelling video to watch. Now others still try to compensate by hanging up either curtains or some kind of a fabric to try to get a better look across, but that usually just makes it look like a 1980s photo shoot from Sears. Maybe not the look you're looking for. Another mistake we often make is clutter in the background. We don't actually carefully look at the background to see what might be distracting. Now, quite frankly, a lot of churches do this on their church stage during Sundays or throughout their building. It's very easy for us as humans to become blind to our own clutter. Now, some people say, well, a little bit of clutter is okay because we don't want to come across polished or professional or anything else like that. We want to be real and authentic. But here's the problem. Yes, it's true, people do kind of get accustomed to their own clutter, but that doesn't mean they get accustomed to yours. So when you've got clutter in your background, it distracts from the message and it kind of looks cheesy. Sometimes all it takes is just 1 minute of tidying up and that cluttered background looks clean again. Then people aren't focusing on the clutter, they're focusing on you. Another common problem is when you're too close to your background. When you're right next to your background, it is a little bit more difficult for the eye to distinguish you from your background and to know where you're supposed to be focusing your attention. When that happens, people are more focusing on the image. They're not focusing on you and what you have to say. You want to choose a background that's interesting, but not distracting. So look around your home or wherever you're shooting and try to find a balanced image that is going to be balanced in terms of light and color. It's ideal if that background is further away, so people are paying more attention to you than the background, but the background is also somewhat interesting. Now, ideally, your background should be connected to the visual metaphor you're going through in your video. Now, normally, when we're preaching from the stage, the metaphor is church. We want people to have an understanding of what it's like to be in the fourth row. But when you're shooting another kind of video, you're probably looking for either a kitchen table kind of conversation or a living room conversation or a coffee shop conversation. That being the case, you want to choose a background that kind of reinforces that same emotional vibe, but without taking away from you. Look around in your living room, look around in your kitchen, and try to find that kind of background that you're not being overwhelmed with light or anything distracting, but it still gets across the nice homey vibe. Here where I'm located, I've got a fireplace, I've got a window, you can see some mountains behind me. It's a nice, comfortable image, and it comes across like we're having a good conversation between friends. And quite frankly, that's the vibe I want to get across. You need to figure out what kind of visual metaphor you're going for and choose your background accordingly.